So those last 4 songs that we did were from Sunday's worship service, and they really spoke to me. Good reminder of the love of God and the love that chases us, that restores us, that can't be bought, can't be earned, can't be taken away. It's not about whether or not we deserve it. And I kind of needed that because I was in a little bit of a rough place because, well, October is a rough month for me and for quite a few people that I know. And if I get in a certain mindset and start trying to, get a little bit ungrateful, I can look back at the last 44 years and say, well, October's a hard month because this has been a pretty hard life. And in a lot of ways it has. But the love of God is an amazing gift that can give us a life worth living despite what is and isn't going on. And at the time that I picked those 4 songs, reminding about the great love of God, I didn't know what I was going to be ministering on tonight. I only knew that we were still going to be taking a break from the series on Romans because the computer is still in the shop. And that means that I'm not sure whether or not this phone is going to be adequate to record properly for posting later. And even if it is, I can't get it from the phone edited for sound quality and posted for the audio ministry until we get the computer back. So rather than have those folks who, rather than being able to be here, usually listen online, miss out from the middle of the series on Romans, I knew I was going to be doing something else. And while I was reading over a few things and contemplating what I was going to do, asking God for direction, asking for some inspiration, trying to get still and get quiet, see what happened in my spirit, this annoying yip-yap kept breaking through the silence and the solitude. My wife has this lovely Ewok-looking, brain-damaged, I believe, poodle. I don't know if it's brain damaged or not, but she does seem to be the least smart poodle I've ever encountered. I'm not real fond of poodles to begin with. And this little thing just would not shut up. She's pretty high on my list of things that annoy me on a daily basis anyway. So that was really starting to get to me. And I was about, I wanted to go yell at her. And if I want to get rigorously honest, what I really wanted to do was kick her in the head hard enough where she wouldn't yip-yap for a while. I wouldn't really do it. But there was a part of me that really wanted to do it. And suddenly it occurred to me that I am so grateful that Daddy, our Heavenly Daddy, Abba, is what that means, Daddy, our Father in heaven, our Creator, is way, way more patient than I am. See, we can get into that mindset that God's this mean, impatient, critical perfectionist sitting high above us, drawing thousands of lines in the sand, waiting to see which line we cross so that he knows just how hard to hit us. Amen. That's a common perception. There are people who put that kind of mentality on others, and more often than not, we tend to put it on ourselves. But that's not who he is. That's not who he is. And so this text for tonight, will come from Matthew chapter 15. Just read a few verses and then kind of share on it a little bit. Hopefully we'll get a deeper understanding, confirmation, further revelation, something to hang on to about who he is and how He really feels about us. Because it's hard sometimes when life is hard, when we've messed up and when things are messed up around us. And it seems like the only purpose in life is to try to get through it, and you know you're going to fail. Because none of us get out of there alive. It's hard to remember sometimes. Well, we just sang so much about the love of God. Look around at the mess that others have made of us, that we've made of us, that the world is in, and say, how can anybody say, God loves me? Father, I thank you for meeting with us. I thank you for your great love. I am so inadequate to express it in any way. So I ask for you to bless this time. Take me out of it. Get in my way if I start to say anything that's not of you. Prepare my heart and my mind to hear from you, and the hearts and minds of those who are here tonight, and if this ever gets posted, that listen later online, to be able to hear what you would have them to hear, and block and filter out anything that isn't of you, so that it can't stick. But what is your truth? Let it go in deep, bear fruit, soil that can't be taken away. In Jesus' name, amen. Matthew chapter 15, verse 21. Then Jesus went out from there and departed to the region of Tyre and Sidon. And behold, a woman of Canaan came from that region and cried out to him, saying, Have mercy on me, O Lord, Son of David. My daughter is severely demon-possessed. But he answered her not a word. And his disciples came and urged him, saying, Send her away, for she cries out after us. But he answered and said, I was not sent except to the lost sheep of the house of Israel. Then she came and worshipped him, saying, Lord, help me. But he answered and said, It is not good to take the children's bread and throw it to the little dogs. And she said, Yes, Lord. Yet even the little dogs eat the crumbs which fall from their master's table. Then Jesus answered and said to her, O woman, great is your faith. Let it be to you as you desire. And her daughter was healed from that very hour. I got a lot out of that when I finally read over it last night. More than I've ever gotten out of it before, and I've read it quite often. There's quite a lot there. And the first thing I want to think about is that Jesus, I think, this is my opinion, Jesus had a heart full of compassion. Now that is scriptural. All over the place we see where he was moved. And the word moved there in the Greek is a gut-wrenching. It knocked the breath out of him, aching for those in pain around him with compassion. But he had a desire to see two things. First off, how serious was she? And second, something that I've never seen pointed out before. People talk about her faith. What were the disciples doing? See, the Israelites had gotten into this mindset of we're special. We're the chosen ones. We're the blessed. We're God's chosen people. And everybody else is worthless and valueless. They're dogs. Think a dog, maybe you think man's best friend. I happen to like dogs. I've got quite a few of them. I've pretty much had a dog most of my life, minus a few years here and there, and they didn't let me have pets in prison, so didn't have one then. But dogs are kind of a positive thing in our culture. There are some people who will, send you packing with all kinds of horrors feasted upon you if they think they're mistreating a dog faster than they will if they think you're mistreating a child. sometimes we value our dogs a little too much. But in this culture, at this time, you walked up to somebody and said, "Hey, dog," you weren't saying you're my best friend. You weren't saying it's time, you're my buddy. I know you've got my back. You were saying, "You worthless, low-life, scavenging scum, evil, deserving of death." Israelites didn't keep dogs as pets. That wasn't acceptable. Most of the dogs in that time and place ran in wild packs. They were vicious scavengers, and they were dangerous. To call someone a dog was a serious insult. And that was pretty much how the Hebrews saw everybody who was a Gentile. Everybody who wasn't of them. But the thing is, if you go back and you look at God's conversation with Abraham, from the very first time that he said, "You are my chosen one," and "Your people are my chosen people," what were they chosen for? From the very beginning, the purpose of having a chosen people was to ensure a line for the Messiah to come, so that through him all nations would be blessed. In the very first time the Creator of all told Abraham, "You're my chosen one," he said, "I have chosen you to bless everyone else." By choosing Abraham and his descendants as special, he was in no means belittling or devaluing anyone else. He was just picking them to use as part of his plan to reach out to all the broken, to all the disenfranchised, to all those who were separated from the Father. And that attitude that the Hebrews had, calling all the Gentiles dogs, was not the heart of the Father. And by this point in time, the disciples had been with Jesus for a little while. And I believe that he wanted to see if they understood his heart. So here comes this woman that in their culture had no value. Israelites called her a dog. She saw Jesus, and in him she recognized the heart of the Father. She cried out for help, understanding that it was beyond her. She couldn't do it. "God, I need your help. Son of David, the chosen one, I recognize you. Have mercy on me." He didn't tell her no. He just didn't say anything. Let's see what's going to happen. She's crying out. And the disciples, those men chosen to be his apostles, who've been walking with him, talking with him, sleeping next to him, eating with him, seeing him moved with compassion for others, seeing him heal and feed the multitudes. What is their response? They came and urged him, saying, "Send her away, for she cries out after us." See, I felt like that. I have felt like the people of God who were supposed to be caring for the wounded were not just leaving me and others out on the streets to die, but sending me away. "Get away, dog." Throwing stones to run off the stray. harbored a lot of anger and bitterness and resentment over that for a long time. But I have found myself guilty of that as well. Not so much trying to run someone off, but hearing the cry, seeing the need. I really don't want to deal with this right now, God. Can you just make the phone stop ringing? Can you just make them go away for a little while? I need whatever. But he didn't send her away. And she didn't let the attitude of the closest to him prevent her from reaching where she needed to go. This story would have been a whole lot different if she had cursed the disciples for being hypocrites and turned and walked away. But she didn't. She just kept pushing in, pushing in, pushing in. A reminder to me, to all of us, it doesn't matter if it doesn't seem like we're getting support from the people that we believe are supposed to be supporting us, because the people who we think are supposed to be supporting us and helping us are not our solution. Our solution is the one who made us all. We need to press into him, not to them. And Jesus said, it's not good to take the children's bread and throw it to the little dogs. There are a lot of people who have taken that and said, see, Jesus was a racist. He called her a dog. He was going to send her away. But he was seeing something. He was seeing something in her that she recognized who he was, and she recognized a truth about God that the disciples who had been walking with him and talking with him all that time had not grasped. She was recognizing that the God who chose Abraham did it out of a heart for all of us. Here's a little barrier. Don't you see all these people standing around? They're looking at me trying to figure out what I'm going to do. Am I going to talk to this dog? What do you want? You know the Messiah is for the children of Israel. This is the children's bread. What makes you think you can ask for it? That's what he's asking. And not in a judging way, not in a, how dare you speak to me? I believe that even as he said the words, his eyes were filled with compassion. And he's asking her, come on, come on. You know the truth. I heard it in your cries when you asked me for help. You know what it is. Say it so that all these people who would call you a dog and tell me to send you away can hear. And she said, oh yeah, maybe I'm not one of the chosen ones, but there's enough for everybody. And even those who aren't chosen get fed. And he said, absolutely. She recognized the heart of the Father. The heart of the Father is love. Yes. Not for a few select little few. Yes. For all of us. For the broken. The captive. Amen. For the rejected. Yes. For that which the world says has no value, God says has every value. I came for you. God loves us as we are, not as we should be. He said, because you understand who he is, and you kept pushing in till you reached the heart of the Father, I'm going to help you. And he healed her daughter. And it made the book. It made the book because that was revolutionary. Because we can get just like the children of Israel. Even those of us who have been cleaned up and pulled out of the gutter ourselves can sometimes forget how much we've been forgiven. Amen. And look down and go, what are they doing? They're doing what God always wanted all of us to do, to realize that we can't do it and come to Him for help. The broken, the rebellious, the enemies of God is what we were, contrary to His will and His way, serving only ourselves, looking out for number one, right? If it feels good, do it. If it felt good, do it again. If it's what I want, get out of my way. Don't try to stop me. Selfish, 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 self-centered, self-seeking, self-pitying, self, the center and ruler of our universe. No place for God. Unless we needed help. Those who don't see themselves as broken, like the Pharisees, dogs, you don't belong here. Jesus says, hey, those broken ones are the ones I came for. I didn't come for those who aren't sick. People go, see, He's not here for such and such a people. And that's not true. The truth of the matter is, He was there for the Pharisee as much as He was for the Samaritan woman. What was the difference? See, the Pharisee didn't think he needed any help. Thought he was righteous in his own self. Thought he was good enough. He didn't need God. As long as we don't need God, God's going to let us not need Him. He can't help us if we won't let Him. But those of us who realize, oh man, I am a screw up. I am messed up. I have been run over, beat down, and half the time I did it to myself. I can't walk a straight line if the walls were up against me trying to force me that way. As a matter of fact, the more you try to force me to walk that straight line, the more I'm tempted to break through that wall you've got up against me and do whatever else is available to do, even if I know it's going to hurt. Not going to tell me what to do. Oh man, I can't stop being like that. Knowing it's going to hurt. Why can't I stop? Powerless over my self-centeredness. Powerless over sin. Powerless over everything about myself for any length of time. Help me, God. Son of David, have mercy on me. See, I say I like dogs. Truth of the matter is, lots of them get on my nerves. They annoy me quite a bit. This little yip-yap poodle was about on my last nerve until I got real grateful for her because she helped me see. Man, up against the standard of a perfect God, I got to be much more annoying than that. I started thinking, what if I had this dog? It was mangy, sick, diseased, just too stubborn to die. Mean as all get out. That half the time, if it wanted my attention, it wouldn't leave me alone for anything, but if it didn't want my attention, I couldn't get through to it for anything. They say don't bite the hand that feeds you. Well, this dog turns around and bites at me every time I try to feed it. Every time I try to help it, give it a little something, give it a bath, clean it up, it snarls. bites at me, snaps at me. I can't trust it around anybody. Family members, anybody comes near it, sooner or later, it might act as nice and sweet as it can be. And then one day, out of the blue, it's going to sink its teeth into somebody's leg. It's done it before. It's going to do it again. I can't trust it. Can't trust it. Can't trust it. Always going to hurt everybody around, including me. Eats everything I give it. Doesn't give me anything worth anything in return. Takes up space. Barks when it's supposed to be quiet. Doesn't bark when it's supposed to speak. Never obeys consistently. Only seems to do what it knows I want it to do when it's trying to manipulate me into giving it a treat. The rest of the time just has his own little agenda, off sniffing whatever it wants to sniff. Worthless dog. Dangerous dog. I don't know about you, but I had a dog like that. It wouldn't last too long at my house. Bites my wife, there's a price to pay. Bites me when I'm trying to feed it, acting sweet, then acting vicious. Can't trust it. Disobedient, hard-headed, stubborn, sick. No. Then what happens? Finally bites the wrong person. Pound comes and picks him up. Says, all right, this dog's got a history of biting people. You can pay a $10,000 fine, or we're going to put this dog down. In all honesty, if they had said 10-cent fine, I probably wouldn't pay it. Put him down. Tired of this. But that dog's me. There's nobody that's been in my life for any length of time I haven't hurt. Sooner or later, no matter how much I tried to be nice, no matter how much I tried to be good, I've bitten everybody that's been around me for very long. Strangers, foes, friends, family, myself. Chomp, chomp, chomp. Sick, can't get well. Empty promises to God about how I'm going to do better. Trying to manipulate God. Oh God, if you'll just get me out of this mess, I promise I won't ever do it again till tomorrow night. Over and over and over again. Picks me up, feeds me, gets me well, cleans me off. And I'm just like that stupid dog that the second you get done giving it a bath, it runs smack out the door and finds a mud puddle to roll in. What are you doing? You just got cleaned up. Can't be trusted. Can't trust myself. Snapping. Biting. Disobeying. Not giving anything close to a return on the investment that he's put into me. And broken the law to the extent that the law says there's a penalty. There's a penalty, and that penalty is death. And God said, I want to redeem him. I want him. Yeah, he's a mangy mutt. But I believe I can help him change that. I can bring out what's beautiful in him. I can heal him. I can restore him. And the accuser's going, yeah, but he's done this and 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 this yesterday. And the father says, I'll pay the price. And the accuser says, the price is death. I get to put him down like the diseased, vicious little dog that he is. And the father says, take my son in his place. My beautiful, blameless, spotless son. And he didn't do it just for me. He did it for all of us who aren't like the Pharisee, but are like the outcast who realized that the heart of God was even for her and that she needed help. See, I don't know about you, but when people say things like, God loves you so much that he died for you. Yeah, sometimes that kind of means something to me. But I'll be honest. There are times I think, yeah, and? It's not like he didn't know he was going to rise from the dead. He knew that wasn't permanent. It wasn't death. It's a time out. Yeah, he endured agony. That's true. But it was a temporary thing. Well, that's my messed up mind belittling the great sacrifice that he made. But even when I do that, there's a truth that can't be escaped. And that is that whether it was a great price or a little price, it was a price he was willing to pay for this messed up, untrustworthy, failing repeatedly, outcast, reject, like me. In all truth, if I looked at my life, all my good and all my bad, it wouldn't take long for my bad to seriously wipe out my good, especially in my mind. My good's just never good enough, and my bad is, ooh. And I wouldn't be worth someone just enduring a week or so of pain and tragedy over, much less a great sacrifice. I'm that dog that's not worth a dime. Go ahead, put him down. See, God wants us strays. He says we're of value. And he wants to bring us into his family. You know, those of us who feel like the whole world would turn their back on us if they had half a clue what we were really like deep in our hearts and deep in our minds, in the hidden places that we try to mask and hide so well. If anybody ever really knew this about me, they would never understand. They would never accept me. He knows it. He knew it before you did. And he said, come on, my child. See, he doesn't look at us like a stray dog. Like the outcast that has no value, that is worthless. He says, you're my child. You're a scavenger? Come here. I got everything you need. You won't ever have to scavenge again. You're a manipulator? It's okay. You can't really manipulate me. I know what you're doing. So come here and ask. Just ask me what you need. I'll help you. You're a failure? It's okay. No matter how many times you've messed up, He's there to pick us back up, to heal our wounds. But He goes one step further. He says, I can do for you what you could never do for yourself. I can give you something. I can give you the power to stop being powerless. I can give you the grace to actually walk free of those things that you can't walk away from. Of those things that got you trapped. Of those habitual mistakes you make over and over and over again, no matter how much you don't want to do them. There's a part of you that keeps wanting to do them, and you keep finding yourself back in that same pit. I can help you walk away from it, and you don't ever have to go back. And I give you that for free because I love you. So when we look at ourselves at times, because I know I'm not the only one, and say, oh man, I'm such a mess. Everybody has treated me as though I have no value. Everybody has tried to take a piece of me. Everybody has tried to break me a little bit because I'm not worth treasuring. I'm not worth taking care of. And I have broken me and betrayed me and messed me up. And I've hurt and messed up others. And I'm not worth anything. How could anybody love me? Well, I don't know why. But He does. And it's not about what we've done or even what we're going to do. We can never, ever earn it. All we have to do is realize that He's the solution. He's the answer. And keep pushing into the heart of the Father, who has always wanted to bless all of us. Not just a chosen few. It is not His desire that any should be turned away or that should perish, but that all would come to Him and find restoration and a life worth living that can never be taken away. We may be little dogs in religious eyes. We may be little dogs to society's eyes. We may be little dogs to our own eyes. But the Father sees us as His children, worth every price He would ever be asked to pay. He paid it gladly and with joy, anticipating being able to hold us in His arms. You have value. You are worth it. Not because you've done anything special. Not because you're tough. Not because you're strong. Not because you're good. Not because you are. And you don't ever have to worry about being good enough, because you can't be. You can't earn it. You can't deserve it, because you'll never measure up. But you can't accept it. It's free. Father, I thank you. I thank you that you paid the price. That you were willing to pay whatever price had to be paid to redeem us from the mess of our own mess-ups and those around us. That we didn't have to prove ourselves trustworthy to have your love. That we didn't have to prove ourselves faithful to have your love. That we didn't have to prove ourselves worthy to have your love. But that your love can make us faithful and trustworthy and worthy. We give you the praise for the glories and the victories and the freedom in our life. We thank you for our life worth living. We ask you to enrich it, to help us to keep our eyes on you, to push through whatever obstacles, whether they be the people that we feel are supposed to support us, whether we feel like it's the people who are supposed to be your right hand. No matter who it is that stands between us and you, even when it is our own reflection, when it is us in our own way, help us to push through and ignore the little everything and say over and over again, I know your heart and I know you want to help. So help us, God. In Jesus' name, amen.